2 weeks ago, silver experienced one of the sharpest single-day collapses in modern history, falling 31% in just hours. Most investors focused on the price drop. Headlines screamed volatility. Analysts debated technical levels. But almost nobody talked about what was happening behind the scenes. Because during that chaos, the real story wasn't price. It was structure. The two dominant silver ETFs in the US market are the iShares Silver Trust, SLV, managed by BlackRock and custodied by JP Morgan Chase, and the Sprott Physical Silver Trust, PSLV, managed by Sprott Asset Management with its silver stored at the Royal Canadian Mint. On the surface, both give you silver exposure. Most investors assume they're basically the same. They're not. And the difference only becomes visible when markets are under stress. SLV is permitted to hold what's called unallocated silver. During periods of heavy inflows, when money pours into the fund faster than physical silver can be sourced and delivered, the trust may temporarily hold a credit claim instead of fully allocated bars with serial numbers. In simple terms, you may own exposure to silver, but not necessarily specific bars set aside in a vault. In normal market conditions, this structure works. Supply chains function, bars move, inventory flows. But during a supply crunch, that flexibility can become a weakness. If silver rallies aggressively and demand surges, inflows into SLV can accelerate faster than physical inventory becomes available. That creates a temporary gap between ETF shares outstanding and immediately allocated metal. PSLV operates differently. PSLV does not issue new shares unless it has already acquired physical silver. No metal, no new shares. Every share represents fully allocated London Good Delivery bars stored at the Royal Canadian Mint. The bar lists are publicly available, including serial numbers. That structural design limits growth during shortages, but it also prevents exposure from expanding without physical backing. The next major difference is redemption rights. SLV allows physical redemption only to authorized participants, typically large financial institutions, and only in large share blocks. Retail investors cannot redeem shares for physical silver. Your only option is to sell shares on the open market. That's fine when liquidity is strong and markets are calm. But if shares begin trading at a discount to net asset value during a stressed environment, you cannot request delivery of bars to close that gap yourself. PSLV allows redemption for physical silver for shareholders who meet a minimum threshold of 10,000 ounces. While that still requires substantial capital, it is accessible beyond just major banks. More importantly, this feature creates an arbitrage mechanism. If PSLV trades at a discount while physical silver trades at a premium, investors can buy shares, redeem for bars, and close the price gap. That mechanism helps align share price with underlying metal value during stress. SLV relies primarily on institutional arbitrage. If those institutions hesitate during a shortage, discounts can widen and persist. Liquidity is another key distinction. SLV is significantly more liquid. It has higher daily trading volume, tighter bid-ask spreads, and an active options market. For traders who need flexibility and speed, SLV offers clear advantages. PSLV has lower volume and wider spreads. It does not have an options market. For short-term trading strategies, SLV may be more efficient, but liquidity during normal conditions does not guarantee stability during extreme volatility. Historical stress periods have shown that spreads can widen and NAV dislocations can occur when demand surges or exits accelerate. Fees are similar but slightly different. SLV charges 0.50% annually, while PSLV charges 0.57%. On a $100,000 position, that's roughly a $70 annual difference. On paper, SLV is cheaper, but cost should be evaluated alongside structural design. If a significant NAV discount event ever occurred, a single dislocation could outweigh many years of fee savings. Tax treatment also differs. SLV is taxed as a collectible in the United States, which can mean up to 28% long-term capital gains. PSLV is classified as a passive foreign investment company. With proper filing, including IRS Form 8621 and a qualified electing fund election, PSLV may qualify for standard long-term capital gains treatment. However, that requires additional paperwork and careful tax handling. In a potential supply crunch scenario, if silver rallies sharply and ETF inflows surge, SLV may temporarily increase unallocated exposure while sourcing metal. PSLV, by contrast, would likely slow or pause new share issuance if physical silver cannot be acquired. Neither structure is risk-free. PSLV carries jurisdictional risk in Canada. SLV carries custodian and structural risk within the traditional banking system. And no ETF fully replaces direct physical ownership if your goal is eliminating intermediary exposure entirely. The key takeaway is this: in calm markets, both vehicles appear similar. In stressed markets, structure becomes the defining factor. If you prioritize liquidity and short-term trading flexibility, SLV may align with your strategy. If you prioritize allocated backing and redemption capability as part of a long-term holding strategy, PSLV may better match your objectives. Some investors choose to divide exposure between both, depending on their goals. Before allocating capital, it's important to understand not just what you own, but how it behaves when markets are under pressure. Because when stress hits, structure matters far more than most people realize.